It's week 3 of the Sew Steady gift guide and our 6 weeks of deals. And this one is going to make your creativity spin. This week only, when you buy the new Accuquilt Go Westalee Pinwheel Set die, you'll get a free spinning ribbon embroidery collection to pair perfectly with quilting your pinwheel inspired projects. And these are just a few of the gorgeous blocks you can create with this Pinwheel Die board. This is not just like any die. It's a game changer for quilters. You won't believe everything you can do with just one die board. This Go Westalee Pinwheel die set includes 8 unique shapes, many of which are very difficult to cut by hand. It would normally require the Westalee tool set to be able to do it with multiple templates. Now, with the Accuquilt, you can cut them perfectly every time, opening the door to dozens of quilt layouts and variations with ease. So we're also going to be giving away a new pinwheel cutting ruler set and spinning ribbon embroidery collection this week. So enter to win, share the deal, and shop the deal at sewsteady.com and earn bonus entries when you sign up. Like, comment, and share this post or snag this week's deal at thesewsteady.com and tune in next week to be able to see if you won and learn about our next feature deal and another giveaway. So happy quilting. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you all so much for being here today. I've got Kate Quinn queued up. She is about to share one of her amazing classes that she is going to be doing this quarter. She is doing that with this Accuquilt die and or with the pinwheel cutting set, which we just talked about. So if you haven't already, enter to win. I will post some links in there so you can go ahead and get signed up for this. But we are so excited to have you join us and be able to take advantage of that. So I'm going to go ahead and get some links in here for you. And I'm going to have Kate take it away to show us everything that she's going to be doing in this class for you. And this is something that you have the opportunity to sign up for on our Sew Steady University to really do the full project. Because as you know, Kate creates amazing, amazing quilts, and you'll definitely want to be part of this one. All right, we'll have Kate take it away. Thanks, everyone.
Hey everybody, my name is Kate Quinn from Fabricated Quilts, and I'd like to welcome you to the release of my newest pattern, and it's called Maddie's Pinwheel. What's unique about the quilt is that it's 2 blocks. So you don't have to make a million different blocks. You'll be able to get really good at those 2 blocks. The quilt is a king size quilt, and the reason I've chosen that size is this is a wedding gift for a family member of mine. So it's big enough that you get good drape on the quilt, and it'll be plenty generously sized for the new couple. So because we have the Elevate box this quarter, the pinwheel block is the featured block for this quarter. So you can see I've done a whole bunch of them. The quilt requires 28 blocks of the pinwheel, and then it has a second block, and I'm calling that block Maddie's block. So here's an example of that block. In today's sneak preview, we only have a limited amount of time, so we're going to focus on the tools that you need to do the pinwheel block and the cutting instructions. But when the pattern releases on December 15th, it'll have videos for cutting all of the block, and it'll have videos to show you all the tips and tricks to assemble all of the units so that you can make the full quilt. Of course, you're welcome to make the quilt at any size. Each one of the blocks is 12 inches, so you can always scale down the quilt by making the number of blocks that seems reasonable and suitable for whatever size quilt that you want to make. So I'll hope you join me for the sneak peek. I'm going to be sharing information about the Westalee Pinwheel Cutting Template Set and our partner die, the Pinwheel Accuquilt Cutting Die. Both of those can be used to make the blocks that you see here, as well as many, many more blocks. The pinwheel set has an inspiration book that has many different quilts available in it, different blocks and different settings. And the pinwheel cutting set even has some additional tool set that you can purchase to give you even more versatility, so you can make many, many different designs. So mine is based on the inspiration block, the Starburst block, which is number 69 from the inspiration guide. And depending on the colors and the way that you put the quilt together, you can get totally different looks even just by changing the colors. So come along with me. We're going to show you those tools right now. And here we go. Meet me over at the cutting table and we'll start. So where we start with Maddie's Pinwheel 2-block quilt is we're going to start with the cutting tools. In order to make the pinwheel blocks, this is one of the most important things that we have to do, is be able to cut those shapes. As you can see from the set here, these are a lot of unique shapes. So this is the paper that you're going to get when you purchase the pinwheel block set. It has information from Leonie West, and then it has some cutting details, and I'm going to show you some of that. And then lots of different ways to put the block together based on what shapes you decide to use. So I'll just quickly show you what's in there real quick. And then here she's showing it, what's it going to look like when you put two of the blocks together. And here are just some of the assembly guidelines. So this is really important. Definitely keep these instructions. You want to make sure that you hold on to those. I'm going to give you a quick look at all of the shapes that are in here. And of course, we need our trusty cutting tool. You've got A, B, C, D, and all the way to K. Each of them have the black cutting bar aligned on the bottom to make things easier so you know exactly where to line up your strip. That's one of the things I like about using these tools is the strip alignment really helps me keep everything perfectly lined up when I want to cut those units. Now, I'm going to show you really quickly the block that I'm going to make, and we'll show what tools are part of that block. So here is the pinwheel block right here. Love it. I think it looks amazing. So this doesn't use all of these pieces. It only uses a few of them. And you'll see that there's an endless combination of designs that you can make. So I'm going to just move this real quick. And I'm going to take the units that we don't need and move them out of the way. So you have a lot of different choices in how you put the block together. I'm just going to scoot these over and move them out of the way. And I'll show you the shapes that we are going to use. This is D right here. And H. And this is what we need. And let me show you the block as well. Just to give you some orientation, these are A, like this. And note that A is reversible automatically based on the symmetry of it. If I take this shape and I just orient it that way, I haven't flipped it over. So we only have to cut A. It doesn't matter whether it's right side or wrong side, it'll give you the same shape. So that's A. Okay, and next is D. D is these big corners. You can see the nick right here would be oriented so that it'll be like this. So here is D on one corner, and then watch really quickly if I flip it this way, that is D on the other corner. So these two pieces are not interchangeable. If you have batik, you could make that work where you can use either side. But if you have single-sided fabric, you're going to have D and D reverse. Okay, so I'll just scoot that over. We have that same thing here with F, right? F is going to be like this. And then when it's on the other side, it's like that. So F is going to be F and F reverse for this block. And H is the same. When you have a cute little H like this, and then you have to flip him over, have a cute little H on that side. So H and H reverse. And I'm going to label these in the quilt pattern. You won't have to guess which ones go where. But the reason I want to share that with you is there's some really easy things that you can do to make that cutting easier once you have the strips ready to go. So let me pull up some of that information just to show you real quickly. So here's A. Here's the D unit, like that. And then here's F. We haven't cut it. We're going to show you how to cut that. And we're also going to show you how to cut this little piece. And what I want to show you when we are working with pieces like this is that the strip is going to be this wide, whatever that size is, whatever this size is. So really quickly, I already have a D available. Let me grab my quick measuring tool. Okay, so if this is our D unit right here, it's this height from the bottom to the top that we want to measure. So with the Westalee cutting tools, I can loosen this up, and I'm going to put this underneath like that with the black bar lined right up along there, and then just line this up, hold it in place, and I'll just tighten one side just to make sure I have it. It does slide around a little bit until you get it tightened up. So all right, I'm going to set it down just to make sure I can get my lines aligned. I'm trying to do it up in the air and it's not working well. Okay, we do want our pieces to be straight, right? This piece right here has to come all the way down, and this one too. So get that lined up and then line up. This black bar should be a straight line all the way across. And we're measuring then that size, and that is 3.5. 3.5 is the width of this unit. So then when you're cutting your strip, that's how much you're going to put underneath there. You'll know that all of these D units are going to be cut to that size. Now, real quick, I'm going to move this out of the way. And we have a strip that's already prepared for that real quick. If you remember, we said that we need D and D reverse. There's a number of strips required in order to cut this unit. So I can layer several strips at a time. And real quickly, I just want to show you, these are wrong sides together. So if I cut the unit on the top, the unit on the bottom is going to be automatically reversed, which makes it really easy to get your D and D reverse. So here's my straight edge. I can just use that to start. Line that right up like that. And I want to cut all of the angles for the piece. All these little cut units right here, make sure you cut them off. And then using a rotating mat is also very useful because you can keep everything aligned right in place. And then here, make sure you cut the remaining elements. Okay, so right there, there's my D, and here's my D reverse. So whenever you're working with those strip units and you need one and one reverse, you're going to cut it with your strip folded over, so you automatically are going to get those units. So this one was 3.5, and I label in the instructions what is the strip size that you need for each different unit. So this is letter D, and D is 3.5, and you'll have that information. A couple of ones I have found that it's better if it's slightly bigger. So you'll note that it might be a little different than what you measure, but I found that gives some flexibility with some of the pieces. Then I've also labeled how many pieces can I get from one strip. So if you're trying to make a certain number of blocks, you'll know exactly how many pieces that you can get from a strip, and it also labels how many each block needs. So, for example, this block needs 4 of these, 2 and 2, so I would cut another piece in order to have enough for one single block. All right, so let me show you a couple more things. So that was our D unit, and then this is A, and I just want to show you because A is so unique, I think. It's symmetrical. And again, this is where I love having my rotating mat, but I don't have it right now. So just line it up right here. You want to be able to pretty much get this the same angle. Mine has been maybe floating around a little bit, so I'm just going to turn it a little bit to tidy up this edge. There are some little nick spaces on the end here. You want to follow them so that your piece will line up. Okay, so cut that off. Get any extra stuff out of the way. And then same thing. I'm going to turn this just a little so I can have a better angle. If you have your rotating mat, that's what you want. Cut all the way down first. That just makes it easier to get to the end. And then take off these little bits. Definitely recommend whenever you're working with these to make these blocks that you want to make sure that you have a sharp blade. So you'll see some little areas here all the way around that you're going to want to cut along. Okay, it's not just a straight, it's a little nick, a little nick, a little nick. And that's going to give you this shape on the end, which lets you line up perfectly when you're putting these together with the next piece. So go ahead and make sure you take off all of those little edges. And then here, once we've cut one, I'll just show you really quickly. Then I could line up over here. Try to get as close to the edge so I don't lose any yardage. And now I can cut the next piece. And after this one's done, then I would move it to this side and cut the next one. And you'll keep going until you get as many as you can. And sometimes with the fold, you might be able to get one more, and sometimes you may not. So I've counted how many I could get when I cut these A units. The block that we have has several colors for the A unit. So let me grab it one more time. I'll put it up here and I'll just show you. It has several different colors. So in this centerpiece, you have 1, 2, 3 on each quadrant like this. So 3, 6, 9, 12 units, and there's 4 of each color. 4 of this lighter orange, the deeper orange, and the teal. So when you're counting, you know how many pieces each block requires. So I would cut all of these A and have them units in groups of 4 so that you can put your blocks together very easily. So we've shown D. All of these in the center are A units, and this little triangle is a combination of the F and the H unit, and both of these are H and reverse and F reverse. So let's show you a little bit about these. So this little strip is already cut to the correct size for F. And by stacking a few pieces together, that means that I can cut a lot of them at once. I can cut basically 4 units of these, and each one of the blocks needs 8 F units, 2 reverse, 4 reverse, and 4 standard. So 2 cuts if this is a single unit, or 4 is enough if you have it stacked that way, and that makes it really easy to count. So you can see it kind of goes right up to the edge there. So just for convenience, I'm just going to go ahead and cut right along there. That gets this out of the way, and then I'll start working my way around the unit. Okay, again, a nice sharp blade really makes a big difference here. And then let me just show you real quick. Let's come in a little tighter. As we're going to go ahead and cut these little tips right here, make sure that you're at a good angle, and you'll just be able to get those right off like that. Okay, and then just hold that. I'll line it back up, make sure I'm all nice and tidy right there. And here's that last little nick. Those are important now because look, we have F and F reverse. Okay, or more like this, I guess. These are the triangles, right? And then there's a little friend that goes on this side and this side. So I'm going to go ahead and set those aside real quick. Now, we didn't really share yet how we're cutting that yardage. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we'll do this one from scratch because I have just the strip right here. You can see I can line them up. This is the 2 edges and the fold is over here. And that way I can get quite a few layers when I'm cutting. Right there, that's going to give me 4 if I want that. So just by using the 2 edges of your yardage and straightening this edge, you could cut 2 layers at a time, and that'll be the 2 strips. 4 layers, but 2 strips. Okay, so let's show you real quick with this H. He's pretty tiny. He's a lot of work to cut. Sometimes just measuring these like this is a little easier. So this one is, let's see, we'll go from the 2 side. Here we go. Right there is 2 3/4, right? So right there, pretty easy to line this up. I wouldn't go any shorter than that. And this way I have a really easy standard measure to line up the ruler. So I'll go ahead and do that, 2 3/4. Okay, just line it up. All right, and I'm gonna just kind of flip this over a little bit because we want the cutting ruler on my side. So you would straighten your edge. Okay, so here's my 2, and I'll line that right up, black bar right against the edge of the fabric. And I actually only need 1 layer. I've cut most of these already, so I'm just gonna cut a single. So I'll just fold this back. Okay, here we go. So just get that edge started, cut up to my hand right here, then move. Make sure that you're bringing it up to where your cutting is and you have a good pressure. Woo, sorry, I was right in front of your face. So there's my perfect strip size. Okay. And here's our little piece. Before I start, I want to remove any salvage. I don't want that in my quilt, so I don't want that in my piece either. So let's cut that off. And this one is super easy to cut in the sense that if you do this side and then you do that side, you're basically cutting it down at squares. So let's just show you real quick. I'm just going to mark this like this. I'm just using a chalk marker really quickly. And, you know, sometimes when we work with these really long pieces, it can be a little tricky. And then I can't get exactly what I want. So I want to show you, here's some ideas. You can line this up like that. And then now I have a square. How big is my square? Let's find out. Oh, sorry. Here we go. So right about 2.5. So I'm going to cut it just a little bit bigger. I'll cut it 2 5/8, and we'll just cut a couple of those, and then I'll show you how we'll stack them up so we can make this a little bit easier. And if you have several pieces like this, you can go ahead and have several of your strips layered together. So they're not a square. It's just about how much length that they need. So don't be trying to make a square out of them, okay? Just want to keep level at the bottom at the 2 5/8. And then just level them where they are. Okay, so I can cut about 6 layers at a time. Okay, and now, because these pieces are so small, I have found that this is just a little bit easier way to manage some of these little tricky beasts. Okay, and then again, cut around your tip. And I'm just going to make sure I get that last little bit right there. Okay. Darn it, I forgot the corner. Right down here. I'll scoot him up. I forgot to get this little guy right here. Okay, cut him. So he's ready now, and that is right sides for 3 pieces, right? So you have H and H reversed. There's 6 units right there. And then we can take this little guy. Again, we'll be using the same straight edge right there. So I probably could get away with the 2.5. That's a lot of extra that I probably don't need to waste. So all these little tips right there, we want to really get them off. They're really needed to make them line up so nice and neat. Okay, so now I got a bunch of these ready, and I was able to work with just a little bit smaller piece. Now, I'll show you real quick how these go together. As you're assembling these units, you want to think about what is the shape that you're actually trying to make. This is basically a little triangle right there. Okay, and so then the reverse piece is the opposite side, like that. So obviously these bottom edges will line up right here. So you would pin it like that. And then here, the little cutaway right there lines right up with that angle right there. So there's your piece ready for you to stitch it in. Makes it really easy to make sure that you're getting the proper alignment with these pieces. So you're going to make however many you need to. The quilt has 28 of the star blocks like this, the starburst blocks. There's 28, and there's 4 and 4 of those in each quilt. So you do the math, but it's all written out for you in the instructions, so you'll be able to know exactly how many pieces that you need. I did all of my cutting and counting first, and I bagged up everything by size. And then, for example, these have to go together. Becomes a unit, so I would make sure that I would do all these first, and then I would start doing some assembly. So I'll show you real quick kind of how the assembly goes. So we showed you this. This is your F block right there, and he would go together like that. And then your D and D reverse units, they're going to go together like this. Okay, see how those are the same. So you're going to have your D reverse ones. You're not going to have all the same units. These are all 4 the same. So you would have 2 and 2. So this piece right here is this unit. Okay. All right, for assembly, here are some of the units. This is the D and the A unit of the correct color. And then you would be putting your F like this. And the F is going to go with the proper color. Like that. So it makes it sort of a triangle wedge like that. I'll bring this down just a little bit more so you could see. So here's your H, your F, and your A unit. Okay, so you're going to make a certain number of these and a certain number of these. Then you're going to start putting them together. So here's an example. So this is the unit right here with the A and F, and this is your D, so that's the corner of the unit. And you're going to put one more matching reverse side, so it's F and F reverse on the other side. Okay? All right, so let's see. I'm trying to see, do I have the right side? Yes, I do. I guess it's going to go like that. There we go. Got it now. Sorry. It's tricky to get them all in there just right. So that's how that last piece will go. So you're going to be making a certain number of one direction, a certain number of the other direction, and then they'll all go in a certain way. If you just follow the directions for the assembly units, then you'll be able to get them all finished up. And let me just show you. Here's the block. Once you get everything done, this is a unit. Okay. So they lay into each other like that. And then you're going to have your D and D reverse. So for example, right here, these are the same. So we don't want to put the units that are exactly the same in the same place, right? These are all the same. So I'll have to make sure that I have my reverse units as well. All right, and then let me show you once we put those pieces together, what do we get? Once we get our two units together, you can see that this one is flipping that other way and this one is going that way because they have this straight line right here and right here. So this is this side, but you can see that's not the correct one. You need to make sure that you have your D and your D reverse as a two patch. Once you have a bunch of these put together like this, you press to one side, whatever color you choose. If you go towards the blue, then when you have the other side of your unit, it's going to work out where the seams will nest for you. So I'm going to go ahead and get one of the finished blocks real quick and just put it up there again so you can see it. And we'll just come out just a little bit so you could see more of the whole block. Okay, so here, these ones go to the outside and this one goes to that side. And then on the bottom, the same, right? So each one of these are going to be opposite of each other. So D perhaps and D reverse, depending on where you started. And then H and H reverse, F, F reverse. All these A's will be the same. They can go in either direction. So you're going to make 28 of those. And by spinning that seam right here in the center, we're able to make that really flat. So I'll show you real quick. I have spun these around and opened up that seam a little bit to make that lay flat. Then, once we've got this part done, let me show you. This is the main block. This is the pinwheel block. Once we get all of the pinwheel assembled, then we're working on the second block, which is called Maddie's block. And I've got it laid out right here just to show you what it looks like. A couple of the pieces went a little skewed, so I'm going to put them back in their place real quick. And the reason it's not quite assembled is I want to show you a couple of things. Okay, so just to show you how this would look, these are going to go next to each other like that. And I have a few more blocks and I'll put them on the sides real quick just so you can kind of get a little bit of a visual about how they might go together. So they're alternating. So this one right here connects pretty much like that, but note that the seams don't match right here. Even when they're sewn in, they're not going to match, which is nice because then we're not trying to have a matching seam right here. We have these offset enough that there's a little bit of space for them. So then this one would go up here, okay, and this one here. So these will connect at the corners, right? So you'll have these connecting at the corners. And then here, I love putting this sort of a blank slate right here because this will be a great place for either some ruler quilting or some embroidery to go right in the center there. And it's really going to make that pop. So again, there's a lot of pieces to this block, but it's not super complicated. You start out with this, you're going to sew 2 sides, and then 2 sides, make the square. And then this right here is a 6-inch unit and a 3-inch square and a 3-inch square. So basically, you're going to make it like this. You're going to make 2 of these units like that. You'll have to keep them in separate piles because one has the light on the left and one has the light on the right side. So make sure that you separate those into 2 groups when you're making this unit. Okay, and then this piece and this piece. So you make a triangle like this, add one on the bottom, press and add the other, and then when those are done, you'll add the 2 triangles, and that's the unit. And each one of the quilt blocks has 4 of these units, and then they'll go around the center square. I'll just bring that back in so you could see. Okay, so that's 1 unit here, 1 here, and 1 here. And then you'll do it as a strip. 1 strip, 2 strips, 3 strips, and the pressing information and the directionality for seams will also be in the pattern as well, just to make sure everything goes together nice and smooth. So we've shown you the patchwork cutting tools. I'm going to clean up a little bit and move some of these things out of here. And I'm going to show you quickly another option that you'll have in order to cut these. So I'll scoot this Maddie's block over since we're kind of done with that for the moment. One of the unique partnerships that we have done this term is we have this awesome tool. So let's kind of show this. It's pretty big, so we have to give some room for it. Ready? Ta-da! So if you are one of those people and you struggle with cutting, then we have that option for you too. And just like we said before, when you're measuring the width of these strips as you're putting them on, so they've got the alignments on the bottom, just like the black pieces. So let me just show you real quick. I'm going to get just one of these. So remember that this is the part that goes along the strip. So this is your strip width for each one of these. So I can just measure. What is my size right here? This is 2 3/8. When you're cutting with Accuquilt, you really want to add at least 1/8 on each side. You want your piece to be just a little bit bigger. So I'll show you real quick. This is the strip that we cut F before. It's pretty close. And what you can do with Accuquilt is you're going to line it up there and you can fold it over like this so that I can feel right here the edge of the die right there. And then on this side, use your finger, find out where your edge is. Okay, so it's right there. So then fold that over. So I would want this part right here lined up a little better. I'd take a little bit more time and press that. If this is not the proper size, what you can do with this is if you want a strip cut, you can. But if I just want to cut only this, let me show you a little trick. I can just cover the unit that I'm trying to cut. I don't have to cut everything. This is just going to cut here, and these will just fit underneath the roller of your Accuquilt machine. So, for example, if I've got a bunch of fabric sticking out there and I don't want it all chopped up, that's okay. I can leave it out there as long as what I want to be cut is covered right here. Then that piece is all that is going to be cut right there. So this is, again, still a very efficient way. As far as strip quilting, you want to just make your strips 1/4 inch larger. In the pattern for these blocks, I've added the 1/4 inch into a separate column if you're using this die, and I've accounted for it in the number of strips to make the quilt in the full yardage. It literally says add this many inches for Accuquilt, so you'll know that you need just a little bit more. I've always hedged my bets. If a strip is a partial strip and it says, you know, like 6.5, we're not cutting half of a strip. We're always cutting a full strip. So if it's 6.5 strips needed, I have rounded it up to 7 just to make sure you have the perfect number of strips for each unit. And that will also then potentially give you a few extras in case you make a mistake or things aren't working out, then you have a little bit of an extra cushion in there. If you want to, you can always add a little bit more, maybe 10 to 15% of the yardage if you want to make sure that you're going to be okay, or if you want to play with some colors and things like that. So here we go. I can just cut that, and then here's my D units right here. Remember that with the D units, you can cut 6 layers with Accuquilt at a time. So I can take my strips like this, and I can layer several of the units at a time. And if I did a bunch like this, see how they have some space in between? That's when I can then put the whole strip mat on top, and I can cut several units at a time. So really an awesome tool, and in the packaging for the Accuquilt Pinwheel, there's a lot of great details and instructions in there. And again, if you use this pattern, then I'm going to have the pressing seam instructions to help everything lay nice and smooth and nice and flat. So the rest of this quilt pattern is going to release on December 15th. And all the videos for each of the blocks will be in there, including tips for chain piecing, tips for being able to cut units a little bit faster, some general instructions, seam management. You can use a pressing block to make sure that everything stays flat. Especially for the pinwheel, I do recommend that if you have any kind of a press block, then that really does help the block to lay a lot smoother, a lot flatter. All right, so if you have any questions, please go ahead and mention those in the comments. I will definitely be checking those for Sew Steady and answering those. So once again, let me just show you, got a couple of options as far as how you might want to assemble the block. Of course, you can purchase the Accuquilt Die, and it is going to need the full mat. If you need a full strip like this, you would want to have the larger mat. But if you have some smaller mats, those will also work as well. And then the Westalee pinwheel set, I'll scoot this over, and we'll just put this right here, and I'm going to lay that out again. This is the Westalee pinwheel set, and then it comes with a lot of pieces. So let me just put those up real quick. I actually have a few more pieces, and I'm going to clarify for you what those are so that there's no question about what you're getting. Okay. Let me just make sure I got all of them. I can't do them in order, right? A, B. There's a lot of great parts in here. So we can absolutely make some just beautiful designs. So here's B, here's C, and here's D, and then E, and F, and G. So here's my F right here. So these pieces are the same pieces that you're getting here, right? All the way to H, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units, 4 and 4. You saw in the initial picture that I've got some bigger pieces. So let me just show you real quick what those are. One of the things that I like about the way Leonie West does things is she's smart. She's got some added units. Let's say I don't want a piece that is pieced together. I just want this as a solid. So then there is a second set that is some additional size options that you can have. And let's see if I can line that up. So then I could make this eye unit all as one solid piece. And then I wouldn't have to piece that together. So there's a few of these different shapes here, okay, that has some different configurations here that are a little bit larger. So the IJK these give you some additional piece options for you to be able to make just some different sizes, different shapes, pieces that are maybe just a little bit bigger. And that way you just get a few more choices of how you put the design together. This definitely increases your options here. So this set right here, beyond this initial 8, that is an additional set. And the other piece that comes with this is there is an amazing pinwheel book. This is just the instructional guide right here, but I have an actual printout. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Mine is a PDF. I don't have that physical book, but you can see it's got pages and pages of different designs. So mine was inspired by this starburst block right here. So this is what I built my design around. And then with color, mine looks very different, I think, than the way this one looks, because this one has the background all the same and mine does not. But that's just a little tiny piece of how diverse and how interesting you can be with these units. You can just make them so varied and that you have so many design choices. So mine has kind of a deep, bold color. It's for a couple as a wedding present. And so mine is sympathetic to both the husband and the wife and the colors that they like. But you know, you can always make this more soft and tranquil, more pastel. You can use bold colors, blacks and whites. It's only limited by your imagination. One thing I do recommend is when you make it, make sure that you make a test block with the fabrics that you've chosen. Kind of do some color mock-ups, because you want to make sure that you're getting the best visual bang for your buck. So this quilt has 2 blocks. It has the Maddie block and it has the pinwheel block, and there is 28 of each unit to make a king size. So you can easily downsize it just by making fewer blocks. The blocks are all 12 inches, so the math is not super complicated depending on what you want for your quilt. Anyway, please check the link that's attached to the post. You can see the tools. They're going to be linked down there. So if the cutting tools are the Accuquilt are your interest, the design book that goes with the pinwheel, or the added piece set, all of those are available. And they're also going to have the strip cutter and the 1/4 and the 1/2 square Westalee cutting patchwork tools, because the Maddie block has some spaces to use those awesome tools as well. Thank you guys so much for your time. Have a great day.
Thank you, Kate. That was amazing. I have posted a few links that might interest you. I did post a link to check out the Accuquilt Die on our So Study website. This week alone, we are giving away our spinning ribbon embroidery collection with that, which pairs gorgeously with so many of these pinwheel inspired blocks. In addition to that, I also posted an enter to win link. We are giving one of our pinwheel cutting ruler sets away this week. So if you want to enter to win, go ahead and do that using that link. And you're also going to win that spinning ribbon embroidery collection. So that's a big win week this week. And then finally, we do have the opportunity with our partner giveaways for you to be able to enter to win a go cutter. So if you haven't tried Accuquilt, but you're kind of interested because maybe this whole die cutting thing has some good options, check that out, because this could be a great opportunity for you to dive into that a little bit more. The go cutter is just one of many prizes we're going to be giving away with our partner giveaways on our next box launch date, which is December 18th. So all kinds of ways to win. If you want to learn more about the pinwheel ruler set, you can check that out here on our So Study website as well. But thank you again, Kate. What an amazing presentation. And can't wait for you guys to check out that full class on our So Study University. So you can head over to that university now. It's right there on our So Study homepage, and be able to access all of Kate's classes and see the latest if you want to get signed up for that. Thank you all so much, and we hope you have an amazing weekend. We'll be back for more amazing education this next week. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.